Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of the Mission Matters Money Podcast, your source for all things money. My name is Adam Torres. You can follow me on Instagram at AskAdamTorres to keep up with my book releases, book tour schedule, signings, all that other good stuff. Always love to connect with you there. And as always, if you'd like to apply to become a co-author of one of my upcoming books, just head on over to the website, missionmatters.com, and click on Become an Author to apply. All right, so today is a very special reunion 2020 episode. What is that? That's when I had a guest on in the past, and I liked him so much I had to invite him right on back. So today's special return guest is Matthew Gaspari, and he's the Executive Vice President and Chief Operating Officer over at Tucson Federal Credit Union. Matthew, welcome back to the show.
Adam, it is a pleasure to be back. Good to talk to you again.
Oh, man. So I'm excited to get into today's topic. So, I mean, you have quite a few years under your belt as an executive in financial firms, and I'm loving to hear your input on this, on the topic today. So, leading through volatile times. But before we get into that, I don't want to assume that all of our new listeners caught your first episode. So, provide us some background and context, if you will, on Tucson Federal Credit Union and what you're up to there.
You bet. Tucson Federal Credit Union, we've been around since 1937, about $500 million in assets, and we're a community chartered credit union, which means that anybody that lives within Pima County, in our case, is eligible for membership, and providing financial services across the spectrum from checking accounts to mortgages and everything in between, wealth management. So full service financial institution, and like I say, we've been around a long time. We love our community, and they seem to love us back.
No, I love that, and one of the reasons I'm interested in your take on leadership through volatile times is because you at Tucson Federal Credit Union, I mean, you really rose the ranks, everything from bank manager to assistant VP of operations, VP of operations, executive vice president, and that's where you now sit. You've been there almost 30 years, or over 28 years, I should say. That being said, where do you want to start with that? I know that's a big topic, but leading through volatile times, when I say that, what comes to mind?
I think what comes to mind is that when volatile times arrive, an institution or a company has an opportunity to do a couple of different things, and one of them is to hunker down and kind of get smaller, if you will, and internally focus. And the other opportunity is to focus externally. In other words, if your organization is going through a turbulent time, it's likely that the community within which you do business is going through a similar type of turbulent time. And so that tends to be what Tucson Federal Credit Union does, is we look externally and kind of try and get through this as a big community and part of a larger community and play our important part. We don't internally shrink, if you will. We try and reach out and get everybody through the turbulent time at the same time.
Yeah, and as we were kind of talking in the pre-show, I said my seat doing what I do is pretty unique because I see I'm like at the apex. I see them both. Like I'm right in between of both of them. I see the good, I see the bad, I see everything in between. One call, I may be talking to somebody and they're hiring a bunch of people. Another call, they're trying to keep the lights on. I mean, it just depends. So that being said, the one thing that comes to mind as you describe this, probably the only word I remember from science class is it's a symbiotic relationship. I mean, ultimately the communities that we're in, and if we have the wherewithal and we're the right size institution, I mean, that's that two-way responsibility. So I love it.
Yeah, as we have gone through different turbulent times, as you mentioned, I've been at Tucson Federal Credit Union for just over 28 years now. And so the life cycle of business, being what it is, has seen its ups and downs. And so I've had opportunities to lead through several different iterations of volatility, and there are a lot of lessons to be learned that I'm more than happy to share.
Yeah, let's get right into it. So where would you start with that one?
I guess I would start with this. The key to getting through turbulent times is to have an innovative and future-looking business plan, because what we have found in our particular situation now with the pandemic, but it applies to any sort of turbulent time, is if you're looking forward at what your business plan is and the way that you intend to deliver service going forward, often it ends up being a benefit or an asset when you hit those turbulent times. And I can expand on that if you'd like me to, or we can go to another question, but I'd be happy to expand on that.
No, let's expand. No, I like where we're going.
Okay. Okay, good. So, for example, what we have been doing the last several years is changing our delivery channel and moving to a lot of video and a lot of delivery service through video and through technology. And all of that is something that's been on my branch transformation plan for several years, and we talked about that, I think, in our last show. And that is going quite well.
And yes, we did. I have to tell you, Matthew, we did talk about it. And what's funny is because I feel like I'm part of the branch transformation plan. I'm like, yeah. So talk about the progress on that plan you told us, me and the listeners about last time. Now you're on the hook. I'm bringing you back at 2021. This is going to be the 2021 episode is going to be called Branch Operational Plan Tucson Federal Credit Union Update. Go ahead. I had to do it, Matthew.
No, absolutely. That's awesome. No, it's been going quite well, and it's been 3 years now in the journey. But as we put this together, and as I was putting together what the plan was going to be, and what I was considering the future of financial services delivery, a lot of it is moving towards not self-service, because certainly there are some components of financial services where self-service has some benefits. But what I strongly believe is that it's a hybrid approach of self-serve and technology, so that you get the benefit of both of those things instead of pigeonholing or forcing your membership or your customer base into one type of channel. So where technology in my mind is going, and where we use it going forward, is that we are it's an add-on type of a thing. In other words, we're not going to take one thing away from our customer and give them something else. Really, what we want is everything. We want to be able to do business with whichever company it is, in whatever way we want to, at whatever point in time we want to, and it all needs to work. It needs to work seamlessly, and it needs to be very interwoven and consistent and reliable. So, in going through the transformation plan, what we have begun to do is shift some of the services to video and centralizing our operations. And so we get the best of both worlds in that case, where the service delivery is you receiving it either over your phone or on your laptop or on your desktop or on your tablet, but you're actually interacting with one of our agents, and so it still is a very engaged transaction. And so, the reason I bring that up is, as we move through turbulent times, the scenario that we're running through, currently, but it applies to all times, is if you need to reset your delivery immediately because something has happened in the community, then in this case, because we've centralized our operations and because we're using technology, we've been able to react very quickly to the circumstance that we're in currently. And we've within 8 hours, for example, in this particular case, within 8 hours, we switched our entire delivery system so that we could continue to deliver excellent service to our membership, but also taking into account any sort of health concerns or any of those types of things, so that everybody remains safe while we were delivering service.
Wow, that's amazing. And it just goes to show, like, when you think about, I wouldn't say that, and maybe it was part of, so I obviously haven't seen your plan, but it wasn't necessarily, I don't think this was just like banking regulation contingency stuff. This was more like, how do we become the credit union of the future? How do we continue to provide more value? How do we help our members more and more? And it just so happens that the timing of the current crisis that we're going through in 2020 lined up to where it met what you were already working on. It's very different than like being reactive. You're very proactive in this, in your leadership.
Right, and having made those decisions early on and created the delivery channel already, to your point, enabled us to pivot very quickly when we needed to. And so for our customer base, for our member base, while there are some changes to the delivery channel to some extent where we had to close lobbies, the ability to continue to deliver service face-to-face, even though it's through video, creates an engagement level that would be different than if at that time we said, you know what, go use the machine, that's all we've got for you. We can still do things face-to-face just through video. They're safe, we're safe, and they don't lose any ability to access their account, close a loan, open an account, anything that they need to do.
Man, that must have been pretty exciting for some of them. Not because of why they had to do it, but just being kind of surprised that they're like, oh wow, they're like, wait, your credit union doesn't do that, really? Oh well, sorry for you.
Right,
I see it.
Right, and you know and the thing about it was again it worked really well in this scenario, but it wasn't planned. To your point from earlier, it wasn't
agreed,
planned for
like that.
Scenario, but right, and I think what that tells me though is if you have a vision and you have a plan that's going to work as you move forward, and it brings some technology into play, then it does give you these additional opportunities or these additional levers to pull, so that if something does happen, you're not a one-trick pony, right? You've got multiple ways to deliver service, and so you're not quite as impacted by something that would surprise you because you say, okay, well, I'll shut that down, but I've got this or I've got this, and we can continue to operate really uninterrupted, believe it or not, and through this particular scenario, it has been uninterrupted, and our production is significantly high, and the feedback from our members is one of gratitude because we're still open and we're still delivering, engaged service. And so while sometimes you would get some feedback from customers that are like, why can't you do things the way that we want you to through this volatile time? We're actually getting gratitude from our membership that says, thank you for being open and thank you for still having an engaged way to do business. And so this is we would never want to go through something like this, but it's been very heartening to have this feedback from our members that they're appreciative of that, and all of that has been the result of some good planning and some good vision.
Man, that's awesome. I love it. It's a great story, and it's a great example of leadership through volatility or turbulent times. So awesome stuff there. I could talk to you about this all day long. I know we scratched the surface, but we're about out of time for today. That being said, Matthew, if somebody's listening to this and they want more information on Tucson Federal Credit Union, what's the best way for them to connect and to learn more?
The best way to connect would be to go to our website, which is www.tucsonfcu.com. That's TUCSONFCU.com. And learn all about us. Our Facebook page, which is Tucson FCU /Facebook. And always feel free to reach out to me directly. What I always like to say to anybody that is listening is, please reach me directly, which is through 1-800 number 303-8328, and you just ask for Matthew Gaspari. I love to share these things. In part, I love to share them because people have shared these things with me, and it's been part of my journey that people have brought me into their to what they've learned, and what that taught me, in addition to what I learned from them, is that we have a responsibility then to reach out and give that back out to other people. And so I really enjoy the opportunity to share these experiences.
That's awesome. Well, hey, Matthew, been great having you back on this 2020 episode. Can't wait to have you back on in 2021 to see how the operational plan is going and what's up with and what kind of advancements. I might have to have you send it to me in advance so we could do a real analysis. No, I'm just playing, but no, seriously, thank you for coming back on. And to the audience, as always, thank you for tuning in. Hope you got a lot of value out of this. If you did, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast. Leave me a review on the Apple iTunes Store. If you're listening to this on our YouTube channel, Mission Matters Money, definitely give us a subscribe there, but leave us some comments in the video section. Love to know what kind of projects and things you're working on. And Matthew, thanks again for coming back on the show.